Weiler. It is a great pleasure to welcome Andrew from Kib Tea to join us today to speak about the beautiful brand that you guys are developing and have brought to the market, and also circular farming, which is another angle on circularity that is really interesting and is something different. And like I've said before, the purpose of these interview series is to sort of shed some light on the various parts of the moving parts of the circular puzzle, if you like, so that we can all learn a little bit more and become a bit more aware of the sort of proliferation of circularity and how vital it is to a sustainable planet and a sustainable future. So, Andrew, hi.
Of course, I guess first off, thank you for having me. Great to chat. In terms of Kib's story, so I think that really starts about 4 years ago with our sister brand, Green Path Food, which is a fresh produce brand. And we were working sort of as part of Green Path Food with a lot of small farms in southern Ethiopia to grow all sorts of crops. So herbs, avocados, green beans, chilies, in a regenerative or circular way. And yeah, we had these sort of biodiverse fields with lots of different crops on them, including herbs. And we really wanted to sort of to bring those herbs to market, to tell the story of those herbs, to grow sort of demand for them, and thereby sort of demand and revenue for our farmers. And so, yeah, we set out to sort of create a herbal tea. It's been quite a journey along the way. We started out, we had fresh herbs, we'd never dried them. So 2018 was really a lot about just like building pilot facilities. We literally started drying herbs in, I would call it maybe a bedroom, maybe more of a closet, just to sort of show that we could do it. Then in 2019, sort of building our own facilities to dry the herbs. And then, yeah, in 2019, 2020, sort of building out, all right, these are the sort of blends or formulas we want for our teas, the brand, the story, how we want to tell the story, that sort of thing. And then finally launching in 2020. And I guess since then, it's just been about putting tea in as many cups as possible. Just this year, we launched in Tesco, which is by far our biggest listing, and it's been super exciting for us, just in terms of growing sort of Kib's distribution and getting more people trying Kib.
Wow, that's so cool. I didn't realize that it was sort of the roots of it are almost as a kind of happenstance byproduct of a different regenerative farming project. Kib is Amharic for circle. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So obviously, clearly, driven a key root within your brand is circularity. And based on the Green Path Food journey, I guess that had always been in there.
So the folks who founded the company really set out to do sort of smallholder farming in a way that was better both for the farms and for the planet, but also for like the farmers themselves and their livelihoods. Oftentimes the prescription for farms in places like Ethiopia is like apply more chemicals, and that's what will lead to better yields and therefore more income, that sort of thing. And so kind of set out to really prove an alternative that we thought was better for the farms, better for the planet. So yeah, it really has sort of been at the core of the business since its founding.
Sure. And could you explain a little bit to us newbies as to what actually circular farming is and how that differs from traditional agriculture, which is, kind of is as old as the hills, really. So I'm guessing that circular actually throws back a little bit to the very original roots. Yeah. Sure. Maybe could you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. And so I think we sort of use the term circular and regenerative somewhat interchangeably. I think regenerative might be the term that you find more often, just I guess it's not common yet, but maybe it's slightly more common than circular. But I think you are right that it somewhat takes agriculture back maybe a few hundred years, but not in a bad way. I think not in a way that's sort of rejecting technology or anything, but I think in a way that sort of works more with the planet And that's really what's sort of we aim to do. And I think what all regenerative farming aims to do is work with the planet, and thereby sort of build soil health. So I think that's sort of the real end of regenerative growing, if you will. The goal is sort of healthy soils that continue to be productive for years and years into the future, and are not focused on just sort of extracting a maximum yield next year at the expense of the future. And so I think for us concretely what that means, to try to paint the picture a bit more. So there's sort of 4 things that we focus on. So the first is organic growing, which I think is straightforward and probably the piece of it that most people have heard about. The second is minimizing tilling. So soils are really like a whole sort of ecosystem, a whole world of different microorganisms, different compounds that all interact together to make them productive and healthy. And tilling sort of disrupts that. And so anytime you sort of dig into the soil, till it, that sort of thing, that just isn't great for it. And so we try to do that as little as possible. And then the third is polycultures, we call it, which is sort of just a fancy term for ways of growing that utilize multiple different types of crops. So in much of the world, you might imagine, like where I'm from in the Midwest of the US, like rows and rows of corn or maize, rows and rows of soybeans, that sort of thing, and trying to get away from that. So that means intercropping, so different crops that are complementary to each other on the same field. Also rotational systems that use different complementary crops, one after the other, that sort of thing. And then the final piece for us is perennial crops. So in the same way that we want to sort of minimize disrupting the soil for tilling, relatedly, perennial crops are great because they're helping to really like pull down carbon into the earth. They're sort of, by the nature of being crops that are there for multiple years at a time, mean that there can't be much tilling going on, less disruption, and that helps to sort of build those healthy soils. So people will define regenerative growing, I think, in different ways, and we very much know that, but those are sort of the four pillars that we focus on.
Wow, it's super interesting, actually. So how is your relationship with the farmers then? Are they kind of growing multiple crops for you for different product streams, or how's that relationship? Must be fascinating, actually, to kind of be a part of.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is always our goal, to have sort of multiple crops that we're working with farmers on, because it then, by the nature of the relationship, it supports a more biodiverse field, right?
Yeah,
if we're able to. And I think that's really, it's sort of a strange combination, perhaps, to have a fresh produce brand alongside a herbal tea brand within the same company. We might be the only people attempting to do that, I'm not sure. But I think that is really the logic behind it, is that it like creates markets, hopefully, for a diverse set of crops that we can work with farmers on.
I suppose that builds resilience in as well, doesn't it, to both their cropping and harvest, but also your business model.
Yeah, and I think that resilience is crucial. Like you just, like, the nature of agriculture is you just don't know when a certain crop is going to fail or be less productive than you'd hoped, for reasons that might be largely uncontrollable to you. So having a more diverse sort of crop portfolio, I think, can really build financial resiliency for farms as well. Yeah,
because obviously you're working across lots of different kind of harvests, as you said, but also you're working across continents and cultures and many different things. So are there particular challenges that you guys find really difficult to work with, or that you've come across?
Yeah, I think one for us, particularly from a circularity perspective, is just, like you sort of hinted at, the nature of working across continents, and that supply chain just can be quite carbon intensive, especially for us, I think, as a relatively, still, we're growing, but we're still, in the grand scheme of things, a small company. and that means that we're just like operating at a scale in some of those shipments that's not as cost efficient or as carbon efficient as we would like it to be. And so I think for us, that's definitely a focus going forward, is finding ways to make our supply chain, particularly that transport of the like raw materials of herbs from mostly from Africa to the UK, less carbon intensive. And so, yeah, that's definitely a big hurdle for us. And then I think like lots of other businesses out there, just trying to navigate like a sort of end of life of products and that sort of thing, which I think even if you're committed to doing the right thing, it can be hard to sort out what is the best way to sort of to think about the end of life for your product, recycling or composting, etc. Yeah,
for sure. We can totally relate with both of those challenges at Circular&Co. We're finding that there is knowledge and there is resource and there's certainly appetite out there to do it. It's actually just trying to connect everyone together and genuinely trying to pull the different circular voices together. And World Circular is a great opportunity to connect that, because there's so many willing partners and everyone's really busy. And it's just that joining the dots and kind of finding the sparks and the connections together. And we're lucky that our partners are really receptive to that, and there's a great knowledge base out there. We can do it. I'm feeling super optimistic that this is very achievable. Like we can do it. Do you have any sort of individual or tips for kind of living a more circular life? But also, I would imagine do you have any kind of, from your business experience, from Kib Tea's experience, and from the Green Path Food, sort of best practice or top tips for bringing circularity to the fore?
I humbly, I will say that I don't think I'm the foremost expert, but I think I guess I just come back to the sort of two questions that I think we try to ask ourselves, and I think it applies both for businesses and as individuals. But one just like how we. I'm getting a bunch of echo on my line. Oh it just disappears. Okay, cool. Sorry to cut that off. Sorry, I created a little editing work for you there.
That's okay.
I was just saying, I think the two questions that we try to ask ourselves, which I think apply both for businesses and for individuals, is like, one, how do we sort of reduce what we're consuming, all the stuff that we need, for business that might be packaging, for an individual that might be clothes or whatever around the house. And then I think the second, just like thinking about once I'm done with it, once our company's done with it, once our customer's done with it, like where does it go from there? And I think that's tricky to sort of to navigate, but I think with a bit of like commitment and research, you can figure out like, okay, this thing I can compost, this thing I can give it away, this thing I can reuse it in XYZ way. And I do think that's possible both for businesses and individuals. And then I think the only other thought I have is just, as you sort of alluded to earlier, Ashleigh, of just like, maybe people don't often think of like agriculture itself. Maybe they think of the packaging should be more circular or that sort of thing, which I think is very valid. I just also encourage people to also think about like the ways in which food is grown do make quite a difference in terms of sort of the impact that it has on the planet. So looking out for, certainly organic is a step in the right direction. I think regenerative is even better. I think we'll start to probably see more and more products that are either regeneratively grown and sort of certified in that way. Hopefully 20 years from now, we see like regeneratively certified products like we see organic certified products right now. So hopefully there'll be more and more of that naturally, but I'd encourage folks to look for it proactively even before then.
Yeah, brilliant, Andrew. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and your energy. It's been really nice to speak with you, and look forward to kind of connecting again in the future.
Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for putting this series together. I think it sounds great.